Machakos County.
All right, so gentlemen, let me start with you, Mr. Mamboleo. And it looks like 2022 is already what politicians basically are focusing on. It seems they've moved on from 2017 elections. But of course, the question in many Kenyans would be whether development is in their mind. But even looking at some of the statements made there, it's 2022. But even more scary or worrying is the fact that the resources being talked about there are more to do with campaigns rather than development.
Absolutely. Let's assume for a single second that, for instance, the unity that we see being discussed there is going to mean anything by 2022, because, you know, politics takes turns and twists in the years that we are going to see. But this is what I think is important. Kalonzo Musyoka, Wetangula, Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi, they are fellows who do things in a manner in which only they can understand. Why would Kalonzo be campaigning for president just a few months after the presidential election? Why would he be suggesting to us that he's now becoming serious when he needed to be serious right from the very beginning? You saw Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula drumming the same tribal drums just a few weeks ago. Just after talking about Luhya unity, just after they thought they were betrayed by one Raila Odinga, and it's happening in the same fashion with Kalonzo Musyoka. I think these are fellows who Raila has every good reason to not pick their calls from now henceforth, because they have absolutely no contribution they're going to make to themselves or to him in politics in 2022. Kalonzo Musyoka, for instance, he's always made the worst timing in politics. In 2007, he could have decided to stay on one side or the other so that each of these sides could have won definitively. Now, he didn't do that. He decided to split in the middle. And that is exactly what happened to this country. So, feeling so much guilt after 2007, because he had betrayed Raila Odinga so badly, he wanted to make it up to him in 2013 with disastrous consequences. I don't know why Raila Odinga can't see this, that Kalonzo Musyoka will always go to the failing team. And then now again in 2017, the same thing. So what I think for me is, yes, 2022 is beginning, but these fellows that you are seeing here are not entering a race for the presidency in 2022. They're just trying to get a basket of voters with whom they can negotiate with whoever is going to be the most serious candidate in 2022. And I think when you see Honorable Charity Ngilu saying that they are now going to put together resources and so on, I do not know what that means exactly, because what do they have now that they didn't have then? Is it counties that they have now that they didn't have then? So I expect 2022 to have begun, but I don't expect Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula or Musalia Mudavadi to be any serious contenders.
Oh my goodness! Well, Moses, very harsh
yes,
critique there from James.
I think James has come up as a Raila defender, and I think he's wrong on depicting these guys as weaklings by the way they are trying to get the votes, and Raila Odinga. Each of these politicians has an history. You remember, if you're in this country, and if you're old enough like me, you know how Raila went on destroying Ford Kenya to get the Luo vote on a party, a shell party that was called NDP. And that was extremely tribal. More tribal, perhaps, more than these other entities. And
but
therefore,
are there any that are more tribal than others?
No, let me put my point across. I'm just trying to get him.
Okay.
Get him to understand that this guy, Raila Odinga, whom he's trying to put at a higher pedestal, is no better than the four. And I think the gentleman in this team is Musalia Mudavadi, who has been always thought, people have been asking, why is Musalia Mudavadi not consolidating the Luhya base? It's been a question on Kenya's minds for the last 10 or so years. Musalia Mudavadi, where are the Luhyas? Why are the Luhyas not behind you? So the man tries to consolidate the Luhya base. People call him now, it's a tribal, trying to get nowhere with the Luhya vote. I think this is a Kenyan way of doing politics. Before Uhuru Kenyatta became Uhuru Kenyatta, he first of all consolidated Mount Kenya region votes. Before William Ruto made sense in Kenyan politics, he went out to consolidate the Kalenjin votes in the Rift Valley. And that's what makes one solid enough to engage in national politics. So let these guys do whatever they're doing. I mean, it's been politics after every election since 92. So if that's the way we go,
nothing new.
There's nothing new.
All right, Javas, your thoughts, and especially on this man, Kalonzo, and the fact that now one of the statements he makes there is that it's time for new beginnings. How many new beginnings can one have?
I have no problem with Kalonzo Musyoka. But if we must titrate the truth and serve him as it is, then even the pronouncements that he has made just this week, it puts Kalonzo's ambition as one legendary mirage. And live as long as he may, that quest will remain only mythical. Now, fact is this. The Coma Declaration, as it has been called, we have seen whether it's Kalonzo Musyoka, Honorable Charity Ngilu, etc., speaking about how they must consolidate the Kamba vote, etc. They forget some simple basics in the game of politics. They need to get a better political playbook. Whether you want to read Sun Tzu's Art of War, or even if they have to go concept after concept in Robert Greene's books on how they must play around with power, then they must try to start appealing to the self-interests of the Kamba people than just talking about the vote basket. And that's one thing that even other successful politicians have done, and it has kept on eluding Musalia Mudavadi, it has kept on eluding even Wetangula and Kalonzo himself. What are these issues that are critical and central to the Kamba people for their preservation? Not just a question of, like one of the leaders has said, that there's no better leader we have seen and we have in Ukambani other than Kalonzo Musyoka. It's not about leadership. It's about the issues that matter the most. Because if they want to consolidate the entire Kamba region, talk about critical issues, whether it's employment, whether it's a question of water, whether it's a question of food security. So that when people see that all these things are propped together and packaged in this leader and his pronouncements, those people will inevitably come together, courted by those ideas. But if they just talk about it is our time and we Kamba people, etc., look, hot air has never found a perfect definition than that. And the other thing is this. Whether it is the other side, whether of Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula who've been talking about Luhya unity. Unity for what? Towards what direction? And in whose interest? Is it because you've just been dethroned from a minority senatorial position that now the concept of unity starts making sense to you? Is it because the issue of the handshake has shaken everything in your political ambition that now you start thinking of Luhya unity and that is now making sense to you? That should not be the point. And it tells you that strategy is one issue that is lacking in their approach. The thing is this. Ambition has no problem and no politician has no ambition. Let them get the finest of strategists and thought leaders within their political enclaves. Let them rethink why is it that they have come to the point where they are right now. In the manner that has been said in Proverbs and sayings before, where is it and when is it that the rain started beating them? Because until they appreciate that they have been beaten by the rain, then they will remain, and just as I close, look at Kalonzo Musyoka. More than 3.5 decades in politics. Look at Musalia Mudavadi as well. More than 3.5 decades. Kalonzo, Moses Wetangula as well. Why is it that in terms of being consummate politicians, they haven't come to that perfect definition? They still remain wet behind the ears?
All right, Mamboleo, let's spread the net wider and possibly just address the fact that it looks like our politicians are very quick to, as it were, move on and begin strategizing for the next point of leadership. But seldom do we hear them talk about their constituents until the time for now, maybe a year before the campaigning time, where they'll come and now talk about the things that really matter to Kenyans, the roads, insecurity, jobs and unemployment. But at this point in time, it is campaigns, yes, but campaigns towards what end?
And that's why I want to disagree with both of my brothers here. First and foremost, it's not just about political strategy. There is a way that politics works in Kenya. I am not Raila defender. In fact, I'm one of the people that bashes Raila the most. I know he makes his faults. He makes his faults at some point. But the people that he has been hanging around with, in the names of Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi, are people who have absolutely no fire, have no fire in the belly, you know? It's not just about being a lawyer, you know? You must whip your people in a certain direction so that you can deliver them at the table of national negotiations in politics. William Ruto has done that with Rift Valley. He started much later than, you remember William Ruto went to parliament first time in 1997. This guy, Musalia Mudavadi, has been in parliament for as long as you can remember. And so is Kalonzo Musyoka. Raila Odinga managed to whip his people onto a certain direction. In fact, in Western Province, in the Luhya nation today, there's every likelihood that if Raila wanted to command them in a certain direction, they would listen to him more than they listen to their own son, Musalia Mudavadi and Moses Wetangula. Except that now, you know, after the handshake, they have gone home throwing tantrums, telling the Luhya people that, you know, we've been shortchanged. Shortchanged about what? This is what we need to understand. There is no leader amongst the people that I've mentioned who champions anything important for their people, okay? None of them talks about employment or talks about water, like for instance in Ukambani. Nobody talks about agriculture. Nobody talks about youth and unemployment and so on and so forth. There is a way in which the Kenyan psyche politically has been directed towards tribal thinking. And every time there is a political contest in the name of a presidential election, every tribe just tries to imagine that the only way they can solve all their problems, even without any specific particulars to that particular thinking, that the only way they can solve their problem is to get one of their own to become president, all right? However, you cannot take away the fact that a strong political leader, for instance, of the kind of Raila Odinga, Uhuru Kenyatta, and William Ruto, will have already put in place a mechanism to whip their bases in a certain direction. Now, for so long, these are totally eluded the gentlemen that we have been talking about. And I do not see anything they're doing new which is going to lead them there. So, for me, this is what I think. 2022 is going to be largely a consolidation, a fight about a consolidation of the blocks of tribal votes that you have in this country. However, I do not see, even now, anything that the gentlemen that we are talking about have done or are going to do to consolidate their bases. There is a likelihood that, for instance, in Ukambani, other people are going to rise up and overtake one Kalonzo Musyoka. A good example is the Machakos governor. You can never tell where that is going. In Luhya land, they are already in place. You can see Oparanya has already said, I'm going to play some role. What is likely to happen, for instance, in the entire Luhya land, is that you are going to have one person commanding a small block here, another one commanding some small block there, and another one commanding some block there. So that Musalia Mudavadi is also left with some small block at the corner that he commands. Moses Wetangula, a small block in the corner. At the same time, you are going to find that as these people fight to consolidate their support bases, people who have already consolidated their blocks, like William Ruto, are going to start negotiating with other people outside so that they can bring those blocks inside, as opposed to starting at the rudimentary stage of having to consolidate your own block.
Your own block. All right, Javas, possibly as we get close to our time, your advice to the electorate, because at the end of the day, it sounds like a very selfish battle up there, yet the Mwananchi continues to suffer. It's like business as usual. Things go on as though nothing ever happened, and come 2022, then we have the same cycle of tension and violence and divisive politics.
My kindred Mamboleo has disagreed without really disagreeing, because in the end, he has drifted to the whole point that we were making. And that's the importance of this debate. It comes to the whole tribal jingoism that informs our politics. Because if you are to remove the tribal aspect or the ethnic extraction component, then our politics is flat. And coming to that point, it is, in fact, what even informs the psyche of the voters. That today, when elections are far off, they will talk about critical concepts of economic development, progress, food security, etc. But when that time comes, when the knell sounds of going to the ballot, then all of us always shrink back to the tribal corners, which is unfortunate. If we have to be sound-minded and fair-minded as voters, then we have to ask ourselves, as they have been harping the tribal string for the very, very long time, how has the common voter benefited? How has that brought progress in every household or put money in the pocket of every entrepreneur or businessman or woman, etc.? So moving forward, when you look at Kambani today, when you look at Western today, the voter should come to an urgent realization, this moment far more than any other perhaps, that the leaders that are at the forefront this moment are only individuals who are seeking and pursuing vehemently their political interests, self-preservation, and seeing how themselves and their households are going to continually ride on the backs of the common voter.
Is that likely to change anytime
It
soon?
may not change right now, as long as, one, we do not shake up and change the components of our politics as voters. Because to the extent that the voter will still be charmed by tribal talk from political leaders, they will remain in that same spot, that same hole.
All right, let me bring in James, Moses on this, and your thoughts on whether there is likely to be a change, because I think then the electorate is getting the short end of the stick, as always.
I don't think, as long as we still have the same characters who've controlled the body politics of this country for the last so many years, I don't think, being the real players, the key players, the politics now and in the near future, I don't think there'll be any change. But let me answer this. You know, there's something I told my brother Mamboleo, that he's trying to defend and exalt Raila, that Raila controls the politics of Western Kenya, which I doubt, because ODM is Raila. ODM had 9 MPs in Kakamega up to the 2017, the general election. ODM now has only 2 MPs in Kakamega, has no MP in Bungoma, and only has 1 MP in Vihiga. That means the lawyers are slowly coming to a conscience that we also need to follow our leaders. And probably the direction Musalia and Wetangula are taking to consolidate the lawyer vote is the right direction. So that for the first time we can have a real lawyer contender to the presidency and maybe make a change, because we saw in the demeanor of Mwai Kibaki. Yes, I'm defending.
Mamboleo, you want to?
I want to
to
totally disagree with him. The Luhya nation has never seen anything serious in Musalia Mudavadi.
Excuse me, let me.
Allow him to finish.
No, but you didn't allow me to finish.
That's what I'm saying.
He made swimming.
Allow me to finish.
Mamboleo, hang on. Just finish
Let
your
me
point.
finish.
Yes.
Let me
So that
finish.
I come to you.
Let me tell you, Mamboleo, the truth is that ODM has lost his ground and Raila Odinga has lost his ground in Western Kenya. And the fact is seen from the kind of elected officials in the elected leadership, MPs and even MCS, the last general election. And this you must give credit to the fact that despite the fact that Musalia was engaged in managing Raila Odinga's presidential campaign nationally, you know, people still managed to vote in MPs who allied to his party and fought Kenya.
Okay.
I find it very difficult to depict Musalia Mudavadi as a guy who is going to give hopes to the Luhya nation in 2022
Kenya
or even beyond. This is a man who waited for Uhuru Kenyatta to endorse him in 2013. Okay? Right? Uhuru Kenyatta went to a corner and thought, surely, I am the most serious
Musalia Mudavadi did not wait for Uhuru Kenyatta to endorse him.
Just wait.
Uhuru and Ruto drove to Musalia's residence.
Just wait.
I was in that compound, my friend.
Yes, just wait.
They
might
came
have-
that morning.
all right.
No.
Moses,
You must be told the truth. The truth must be prevailed.
Moses, wait.
No.
You know,
You're making
you could be
wrong statements. They're sweeping.
Let's have some.
Because I was there.
Let's have some.
I was in that compound
Allow
when
him to make
Uhuru
his
and
point,
Ruto
then.
drove in.
Allow him to make his point, then you'll come in.
You
and,
could be
yeah.
seated in
Give
your
us the
house, moving to nowhere. I mean, just being in your compound waiting for an endorsement. You don't have to get out.
It's not about
Let me tell you, he was completely lost in the wilderness when Uhuru withdrew his support and decided to run on his own. You saw what happened to him. It is said that even his running mate did not vote for him. I don't know whether that is also true. Were you there? So this is what we need to understand, yeah? That the Luya nation, in spite, the Luya, just wait.
No, this man.
Just wait. Can I make point?
When Musala is part of Raila,
let me move from that point because it is really hurtful to him.
All right, gentlemen, if we all talk, we'll not be hard. Get your point, then I'll come to you, Jabba.
This is what I'm saying. Okay? If today you are talking about a popularity contest in Western at the presidential level as of 2017, even if ODM might not have gotten whatever votes it got there, we are sure that Raila Odinga had serious backing in Western Province as himself. Okay?
No.
So this is what I think for me is important.
You cannot underestimate
Let Musalia Mudavadi try, together with his brother, to consolidate the Luya vote.
Moses, I'll give you a chance to come in.
Yeah.
All right.
Let Musalia Mudavadi and Wetangula make a try. I do not see it going anywhere.
Which they're doing right now.
Which they're trying.
Watch this.
But what we know for sure is that if they manage to consolidate the Luya vote, it will not be for purposes of presenting a serious presidential candidate. Probably it will be for purposes of negotiation with someone else.
Well, to some extent, of course, I don't know the kind of Sangoma that Moses has consulted to give him certain assurance of the political magnanimity and power and excellence of, and prophetically so, of Musalia Mudavadi. Now, I don't know whether he is new in Jerusalem, but the fact is this. If you're to look at the charm, the profile, and the politics of Raila Odinga, and then you put side by side Musalia Mudavadi, etc., there is no comparison. Musalia Mudavadi will pale at the political blow of Raila Odinga any day, any time. The fact that ODM itself has consistently lost members of the National Assembly at the ballot, at the general elections, does not mean that Raila's political influence has waned.
What does it mean?
And it will not wane.
What does it mean?
Not just now. In fact, it is no, let's look at it this way. That in fact, it has been because of the comfort of those alliances within that main house, for example, if it's NASA, that they've been comfortable voting for whoever as long as it's within the same umbrella. Tell you what, and you can take this to whatever consolidated banks all over the world for cashing, that if each party was to go separately and then have Musalia Mudavadi with his party, Wetangula with his party, Raila Odinga with his party, and then let's go to a presidential contest or a general election, I tell you this, that Raila Odinga will emerge with more popular support and even representatives as opposed to Musalia Mudavadi. Musalia Mudavadi is not a bad leader. In fact, the only thing that he needs, and maybe that's where maybe I think you're working to go toward, get strategists that can recalibrate and reposition him and maybe fire up his ambition, which actually has lacked decade after decade. Musalia Mudavadi, unless he goes back to the drawing board, if at all he keeps on and grabbing the coattails of Raila Odinga or talking about Luya unity for his political survival, let me tell you one thing. He is not only failing, I can assure you that he's trying to entomb his politics early enough.
All right, Moses, your closing comments.
Thank you. I think Kenya moving forward, we need to understand that the policies of this country are held captive by certain forces. I think the presidency of Kenya and the leadership thereof is decided elsewhere, and the voters only endorse what has been decided.
Who decides it?
The owners of Kenya. British, the Americans,
who are those?
And their local connections. I think they decide who becomes
president. And Musalia Mudavadi has never excited them.
Listen, my brother. Yeah. And that's why Uhuru Kenyatta in 1997 lost to Moses Muya in Gatundu on SDP, and Raila Odinga was on the ballot. Uhuru Kenyatta is doing his final term as a president, We don't know whether Raila Odinga will ever be president in Kenya. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, I think we'll wind it up right there. And let's wait and see what, politically speaking, the future has for us. And in studio with us is James Mamboleo, Javas Bigambo, and Moses Oburu. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning just to look at the week that was. For now, we take a break and we take a look at the weather. But do stay with us. We do have Matters Entertainment coming up. And, well, can you sing? We'll be putting you to that challenge.